my name is Rick Valley, and this is my signature assignment on the Miller-Lyer illusion for my general psychology class at CBU. So the Miller-Lyer illusion is basically this optical illusion that includes two lines, both of which have opposite words facing arrows on the ends of them. So this top one has an arrow facing inwards, meanwhile this one has an arrow facing outwards. And basically the idea of this illusion is that you'll look at it and you'll assume that the top line is longer than the bottom line just because of these arrows in giving it length, when in reality these middle lines here are the exact same size. So let's learn a little bit more about this. So Franz Karl Müller-Lyer invented this in 1889, and it basically just tells us that the way that we perceive things tells us a lot about how the brain and perception works. And so basically this illusion reveals how the brain reflexively processes information. And so basically that means that the brain, when it sees an object for the first time, that's its reflexive process, and that's how it perceives it immediately. So here's some findings on this. So in 2011, the University of London conducted a study with some people, and basically they were asked to identify which of these lines was longer. And most of them said that they differed in size, when in reality they were the same size. And so that basically just gives us a little more information about that Müller-Lyer illusion and how it transfers over to humans. And so here's a quote by Dr. Michael Prell, who I used as a source in my paper. Basically it says, if an illusion can capture attention in this way, then it suggests that the brain processes these visual cues rapidly and unconsciously. This also just suggests that perhaps optical illusions represent what our brains like to see. And also that illusions bring light to our true perceptions, which I will get into later. So here's another example of the Müller-Lyer illusion. So basically here's that first diagram that I gave you that first time, and here's the second. So basically this is the same one, but with lines connecting those two middle lines, just showing that they are the same size. And here's a little bit more complicated diagram showing that if there are multiple arrows on one line, that it kind of makes it crunch up on this side but elongate on this side, when in reality all of these lines are the same size. All of them are the exact same size. Let's talk about some of the relations to the 5 themes of human nature. I mainly focused on 2 of them just because I thought that those were the most relevant. But let's start off with this bottom one here. I know it's a little bit unconventional, but so my first one that I reviewed was that humans are responsible, limited agents, and that we are responsible for our own decisions. And by that, I basically just mean that, basically I translated the lines of the Müller-Lyer illusion to a real-life situation that you might come by. So basically, what I said in my paper is that if you saw somebody having like a bad day and acting out, you'd immediately think that they were just a bad person and they're overreacting. But if you look at the whole picture, and if you dig a little bit deeper and give that person just a little bit extra grace, you might see that they're not actually like that, but there might be some existential circumstances happening in their personal lives that are messing with the way that they usually act. And I use that to correspond with my in need of redemption point for the 5 themes of human relations. And for this one, basically means that as humans, we are living in sin and we are in need of redemption. And so basically I tied these 2 together and said that because of that first example that I explained, seeing somebody having a bad day and not giving them the grace that we need, we're in need of redemption, because God is going to be the one who will eventually give us that grace, and we will then be able to walk here on earth and live out that grace as human beings, how God intended. Here's one more example of Müller-Lyer illusion. So you see a room here where there's a ticket booth as well as another room, and so at the closest corner of this room, since it seems closer here, we're going to think that this one's like obviously larger because it's closer. That's how perception works. And we're going to think that this one's farther. But when you look at this, we can tell that these lines are exactly the same. So this one has that outward facing arrows, and this one has that inward facing arrows. But if we line this up and just draw a straight line all the way over there, we could tell that these two lines are the exact same size. And it just has to do with perception, honestly. Because if we see these lines how we did before, like this, so this would be the corner of the room that is farthest away from us, and this would be the corner of the room that is closest to us. In reality, this line is going to be smaller. In reality, this line's going to be smaller because it's farther away from us. But the way that we see it in this image, both of these lines are the same size. And so, yeah, that is my presentation on the Mueller-Lyer illusion. Thank you.